Good evening. It is Monday, November 10th, 2025. I'd like to call this regular school board meeting to order. Please. First up is Ms. Jessica Sawicki from LCEA.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and community. Valerie, LCA's office manager, and I had the privilege of volunteering this past Friday at the Education Day during the Renaissance Fair. It was such a joy to see our students, educators, and families have a wonderful time. The Lake County Educational Foundation does so much for our schools, and the LCA has a long history of supporting their work. Events like this strengthen our community and directly support our students and classrooms. Before I continue, I want to share a message from our LCA President, Elizabeth Emery, who is unable to be here tonight as she recovers from a life-changing event. On Sunday, October 26, my husband and I were involved in a serious car accident. We are both still recovering, but the outgoing of kindness and support from this community has lifted our spirits and reminded us of its strength. I want to thank the superintendent, district leadership, and human resources for their compassion, and my union family, fellow educators, and FEA staff for their incredible support. This experience has reminded me of what truly matters: our health, our well-being, and the people who sustain us. Everyone deserves that same care and stability, and that can only happen when we invest in the people and institutions that hold our community together. Strong public schools are the foundation of a thriving community. They not only educate our children, they nurture the people who go on to serve and strengthen our community. While at the hospital, I was cared for by a former Leesburg High School student who is now a nurse. That moment reminded me how our investment in students today becomes our community's well-being tomorrow. I urge you to remember that investing in our educators is not only right, it's an investment in our collective future. With a nearly 15% fund balance, now is the time to direct resources to get toward our employees so they can continue the extraordinary work they do every day. Elizabeth's work speaks directly to the heart of what our educators and schools need. As she said, strong public schools build strong communities. But to keep them strong, we must stand together and fully fund education. With the rising costs of food, utilities, and insurance, our employees, both instructional and non-instructional, are struggling to make ends meet. Florida Statute 1011.051 requires a minimum fund balance of 3%, and Lake County School Board policy requires 4%. Our district is well above that. So tonight, I ask, is there money within these reserves that can be used to help attract and retain our incredible educators? Currently, district funds should serve our current students and support the people who make our schools run. When employees have financial stability, they spend locally, strengthening small businesses, supporting families, and uplifting Lake County. And just as importantly, investing in our employees encourages them to stay with Lake County schools. When LCS employees feel valued and fairly compensated, they build lasting careers here and become the mentors and high-impact veterans who shape generations of students. So tonight, I echo Elizabeth's call. Let's show our educators that they matter, not with words, but with meaningful action. Because when we invest in our educators, we invest in our students, our families, and our entire Lake County community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Next up is Ms. Bobby Blajo. 3 minutes, yes.
Hi. Thank you, Superintendent and Board, for this opportunity to speak to you. I want to talk about the value of educators. I'm going to try it without notes and see how I do. Being a teacher is one of the few jobs that the day you walk in, you're expected to be 100% competent at what you do. It's a difficult task for a veteran. It's a really difficult task for somebody who's brand new. And you have to have a bachelor's degree, and Florida has allowed us now to have people come in with probationary or temporary certificates so that they can learn on the job, which I think is fabulous. But with that bachelor's degree, we come in here having spent lots of money on our education. And when I came here, I was kind of surprised at how much teachers were paid. And so what I started thinking about was, what does $400 in performance pay look like for me? And so if I take it for my 10 months of working as a teacher, it's $40 a month. I think I can go to McDonald's with my family for that. But then I thought, what is it if I look at my 196-day contract? Then that would be about $2. It's actually $2.04, but they're not making pennies anymore, so I didn't bring the 4 pennies. But the reality is that teachers are feeding their families 365 days a year. That's $1. And if I add up the pennies, and 10 cents per day. We need to do better for our educators. We need to think about the future for them and the future for Lake County schools. I love working here, and I have colleagues that have dedicated years and years and years to Lake County schools, and I want to honor them by showing my little math lessons. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Blajo. Dr. Luke?
I wanted to express my, I was shocked by Elizabeth Emery and her family and their tragedy, and I think it even more so speaks to her as a person and how much she cares for this district that she had a message for us today, despite everything that she's going through. And so I would appreciate you just continuing to let her know that we're thinking about her, and we appreciate her representation of Lake County and Lake County teachers. I also wanted to recognize the media specialist at Seminole Springs Elementary School. She was recognized at the FAME conference this year as a Florida Powers Library School, which I would like to know more about personally, but I'm really proud of her achievement. I also wanted to thank, I have a couple. I've Lost Lake Elementary, Lake Hills Elementary School, or Lake Hills School, and Grassy Lake Elementary School. Their partnership with our Preparing Future Teachers is incredible, and they always open their doors and allow our students to come in and learn from them. And I know that's not always easy, just with everything going on and all of the buildings. And they are model schools that anybody could walk into at any time and just see the power of what's happening in those rooms.
And one other question I did have, just because I think that it's important for everybody in the public to also know, is I want to make sure we're all working on the same numbers for fund balance. And I know we don't have the gift of having our CFO tonight, but we certainly heard some numbers on our fund balance. I've heard different numbers on our fund balance. And I know we're going to step into an executive session a little later, and I know that we're going to try to make some decisions based on numbers and so on and so forth. I'm wondering if Mr. Ward has left that information, that we might be able to have that on the record. Where is our fund balance now?
Yes, so as it is budgeted currently, it is about that 3% mark. It is not 15%. Last year, we ended at 12%. This year, we anticipate that once everything settles, at a maximum, we would be at 8%. But currently, we are at the 3% mark, and we're hopeful that by the end of the year, with lapse and other things, that we can get to 8%. So it went from 15 to 12, and then from 12 to 8.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully. Actually, I should say to right at 3%.
So right now, we're sitting at like 3%.
That is correct. Our budgeted fund balance right now is, we're sitting right at just above 3%.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Mr. Mathias?
It's interesting that you would mention Mrs. Baxley, because she's always been so shy. I can't imagine you reaching out beyond Eustace. No, this has been a great conversation and good collaborative effort between everyone to make the right decision, and we will. To Elizabeth, she is constantly in our prayers, and her husband, and for her to send that message was well received, I will tell you that.
Per usual, I echo all those comments. Jessica and Bobby, thank you for being here this evening. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with Elizabeth, and thank you for the good work that you all continue to do on behalf of teachers in our district.